The jungle planet of Zaltara glimmered under twin suns, casting long shadows across the alien capital of Valoria. Towering crystalline spires reflected the sunlight in sharp shards of green and gold. Strange, glowing plants grew between the buildings, filling the air with soft, luminescent hues. From a distance, the city looked alive, as if it breathed in rhythm with the planet itself. A small shuttle descended through the haze, carrying the first human delegation to this world. The ship was plain, almost fragile in comparison to the massive alien crafts that usually landed in Valoria. Yet it moved with purpose and precision, drawing cautious attention from the alien sentries who watched from the spires above. Inside the shuttle, Evan sat quietly, his eyes wide with wonder. At 12 years old, he was the youngest of the human delegation, a child among seasoned diplomats and military personnel. Yet there was something about him that drew attention even among adults. He was curious, sharp, and unusually calm for someone entering a foreign court known for its rigid rules and proud hierarchy. "Evan," whispered Commander Rivas, the leader of the human delegation, "stay close. Remember, the aliens value decorum. Do exactly as they say." Evan nodded, but his eyes never left the view outside the shuttle. Giant alien birds with translucent wings glided between the towers, and energy lines pulsed faintly through the city streets. It was unlike anything he had ever seen. When the shuttle landed in the central plaza, the humans were greeted by a phalanx of alien guards. They were tall and elegant, with 4 arms and shimmering skin that changed color depending on mood. Their eyes were golden and intelligent, scanning the humans with careful suspicion. From the top of the main spire descended Queen Velana, ruler of the Valorians. She moved with a grace that seemed almost unreal, her robes floating as though they had their own life. Her skin shimmered like polished opal, and her eyes, deep violet and glowing faintly, scanned the delegation with a mixture of curiosity and caution. "Humans," she said in a voice that resonated through the plaza. "You arrive in my capital seeking friendship or mischief?" Her tone was sharp but not unkind. Commander Rivas stepped forward, bowing slightly. "Your Majesty, we come in peace. We seek dialogue and understanding. Our mission is purely diplomatic." Queen Velana's eyes swept across the delegation, lingering for a moment on the youngest human. Evan, unaware of the stare, tilted his head slightly to watch a group of glowing insects flit past. He smiled softly, his expression innocent yet full of quiet confidence. Velana's lips curved into a small, almost imperceptible smile. Without a word, she raised her hand, pointing subtly toward Evan. The gesture was so slight that most in the court missed it, but those who saw it froze in shock. The court's silence stretched, heavy with confusion and intrigue. He is mine," Velana said, her voice low but carrying across the plaza. Gasps rippled through the alien assembly. Nobles whispered among themselves, voices filled with disbelief. It was unheard of for the queen to single out an outsider, especially a human child, so publicly. Commander Rivas stiffened, his protective instincts kicking in. "Your Majesty, is he—" Velana raised a hand, stopping him. "He is mine in the sense of destiny. Do not interfere, human. You will understand in time." Her eyes returned to Evan, who continued to smile at the floating insects, completely unaware of the attention he had drawn. The humans were escorted into the palace, a massive structure of crystal and living wood that seemed to grow upward rather than be built. Hallways shimmered with bioluminescent vines and the air hummed faintly, filled with energy that humans could barely perceive. Evan wandered slightly behind the adults, his curiosity leading him toward a small side chamber where a strange mechanical device rested. It resembled a large crystal embedded in a pedestal, glowing faintly. As he approached, the device responded to his presence, projecting holographic symbols that floated in the air. "Fascinating," Evan whispered. He reached out, touching one symbol, and a soft chime echoed through the room. The device shifted, forming a map of the surrounding city. A shadow fell over him, and Evan looked up to see Velana standing quietly behind him. Her expression was unreadable. "You are brave to explore without permission," she said softly. "Few humans would dare, even in their own world," Evan shrugged. "I just wanted to see it. Everything here is amazing." Velana studied him for a long moment. "Amazing," she repeated. "Yes, humans see differently than we do. Perhaps this is why I chose you." Evan tilted his head. chosen me?" "Yes," she said, her voice calm but firm. "In our culture, to be chosen by the Queen is rare. It is a sign that destiny itself watches you. You are small, yet your mind is sharp. You see what others cannot. That is why you are mine." Evan blinked, unsure what to say. In his life, he had been praised for intelligence, courage, or creativity, but never for being chosen by an alien queen. Still, he felt a strange sense of pride, as if a new chapter of life had just begun. The rest of the day passed in a blur of introductions, elaborate rituals, and polite conversation. Aliens observed the humans with a mixture of fascination and skepticism. Some whispered that humans were clever but reckless. Others noted their resilience, their willingness to adapt quickly to foreign customs. Throughout it all, Evan remained calm, polite, and observant. While the adults struggled with formal etiquette, Evan found ways to understand and interact naturally with the alien environment. He asked insightful questions about their history, technology, and culture, impressing the court further. As night fell over the glowing city, the humans were led to their quarters, a series of elegant chambers carved into living crystal. Evan stood at the window gazing out at the city below. Energy lines pulsed like veins, connecting buildings and illuminating the jungle beyond. Commander Rivas approached, placing a hand on Evan's shoulder. "You've done well today, Evan, but be careful. The Queen's choice. It is not a simple thing," Evan nodded. "I understand, sir. I want to understand more about her world." Rivas smiled faintly. "Good. That curiosity will keep you alive." That night, as the twin suns set and the city shimmered under the glow of alien flora, Evan dreamed not of home, but of possibilities. He dreamed of adventures, challenges, and the strange, exciting destiny the Queen had chosen for him. Somewhere in the palace, Queen Velana watched over him. Her violet eyes glowed faintly in the darkness, a silent promise of guidance and a warning of the trials yet to come. For Evan, the youngest human to step foot on Zaltara, the adventure was only beginning. He had been chosen, yes, but whether for greatness, danger, or both, only time would tell. And in the heart of the alien capital, destiny had already begun to stir. The morning sun rose over Valoria, casting golden light on the crystalline towers and glowing plants that lined the alien city. The human delegation gathered in the central hall of the palace, where elaborate banners fluttered in an unseen breeze. Today, Evan would face his first real test, not of strength but of intelligence, courage, and composure. Queen Velana entered the hall, her movements graceful as a predator gliding silently. Her violet eyes scanned the humans, lingering on Evan with an intensity that made even the oldest ambassadors uneasy. "Today you will witness the trials of understanding," she announced. "And one among you will face a challenge unlike any other. You, human child, come forward." Evan stepped forward, his heart pounding, but he did not falter. "Commander." Rivas exchanged a worried glance with the other humans but said nothing. Evan had a habit of surprising even the most cautious adults. Velana gestured toward a series of 3 glowing portals, each leading to a different chamber. Each chamber tests a different quality: wisdom, courage, and empathy. Only those who can navigate all 3 will gain my trust. Evan took a deep breath and stepped toward the first portal. The others hesitated, intimidated by the alien court watching silently, but Evan walked with quiet confidence. The Chamber of Wisdom. The first chamber was dimly lit, the walls covered in strange symbols that pulsed gently. In the center floated a holographic puzzle, shifting and changing shape with every movement Evan made. He studied the puzzle carefully. Unlike the human puzzles he had encountered before, this one required abstract thinking. Shapes and colors, transformed into patterns that seemed impossible to follow. But Evan noticed something. The symbols responded to patterns of thought, not brute force. "Think, not touch," whispered a soft voice, though no one else was in the chamber. Evan closed his eyes briefly and imagined the shapes aligning in his mind. Slowly, the puzzle shifted into a coherent pattern, forming an elegant symbol that glowed with approval. A soft chime echoed through the chamber. A door opened, revealing the second challenge, the Chamber of Courage. The next chamber was darker, filled with the sound of rushing water and distant thunder. Evan stepped carefully onto a narrow bridge, suspended over a deep chasm, the bottom invisible in the shadows. Strange creatures with glowing eyes watched him from the darkness, their movements fluid and menacing. Fear clawed at him instinctively. Any other human might have frozen, but Evan focused on breathing steadily, taking measured steps. He remembered lessons from his parents. Courage is not the absence of fear, but the choice to move forward despite it. Halfway across the bridge, a creature lunged at him. Evan dodged instinctively, using his small size to his advantage. He noticed that the creatures reacted to hesitation and doubt. With steady movements and unwavering focus, he reached the other side, earning a soft hum of approval from the chamber itself, the chamber of empathy. The final chamber was quiet, almost unnervingly so. At first it appeared empty. Then, projections of alien figures appeared, each expressing distress in subtle, unfamiliar ways. Some cried silently, others trembled. Evan quickly realized that understanding them required more than observation. It required feeling. He approached the first projection and extended a hand. I understand you're scared. I won't hurt you." The projection's eyes brightened and it nodded. Evan moved to the next, and then the next, treating each as real, vulnerable beings. The chamber shifted. Light flooded the room, and Evan felt a warmth he had never known. The challenge was not about force or cleverness, but about connection, about seeing the world through the eyes of another. When Evan emerged from the final chamber, he was met with silence. The alien court stared, some in admiration, others in disbelief. He had passed challenges that many of their own citizens would fail. Queen Velana stepped forward, her expression unreadable. "You have done well, human child. Your mind is sharp, your courage steady, and your heart remarkably attuned. This is rare among your kind." Evan bowed slightly. "Thank you, Your Majesty." Velana's violet eyes glimmered. "Rare indeed. Perhaps this is why I claimed you yesterday. I see a spark, a potential that could change the course of my empire. But do not mistake this for favor. The court will watch you closely. Many do not understand your ways, and misunderstandings will follow." The court's suspicion, even as the queen praised Evan, murmurs ran through the court. Some nobles whispered that a human child could never understand alien politics. Others worried about the implications of the queen's claim. What if this small human brought chaos to their carefully ordered society? One senior noble, Lord Varric, stepped forward. "Your Majesty, this human, he is clever, yes. But he is still a child. How can you trust him with matters of state or diplomacy? His presence may invite trouble." Velana's eyes narrowed. "Varric, you have underestimated humans before. I will not repeat that mistake. The child is under my protection. Any who threaten him will answer to me." Varric's face paled, but he did not press further. The Queen's declaration carried weight, and even dissenters knew better than to openly defy her. Human diplomacy after the trials, Commander Rivas approached Evan. "You did well, Evan. But remember, not everyone here will trust you. You'll need to be careful. Watch for subtle hostility, hidden traps, and misunderstandings." Evan nodded. "I understand. But I think they can learn from us too. If they just see what humans can do, maybe they'll understand we're not dangerous." Rivas smiled faintly. "Perhaps you might be right. You have a way of making them see possibilities they never imagined. Unexpected allies." Even as some nobles whispered in suspicion, others began observing Evan with interest. A young alien, named Solaris, a scholar and member of the Queen's Council, approached him in the garden courtyard. "You surprised everyone in the trials," Solaris said, his voice cautious but curious. "I did not expect a human child to navigate the chambers so well." Evan shrugged. "I just try to understand. I look, I listen, I think. That seems to work here." Solaris smiled faintly. "Yes, it works better than you know. Perhaps you might teach us something." For the first time, Evan felt a small sense of belonging. Among the alien culture, Where adults often acted as if they knew everything, his youth and curiosity became an advantage. The first lesson that evening, Queen Velana summoned Evan to a private chamber. She did not scold or praise him, only watched him carefully. "Human child," she said, "today you proved one thing. Humans see differently. You take risks, you think in ways that do not occur to my people, and you act with a sense of morality that many of my citizens lack. This is why I claimed you. You are not just a child. You are a spark." Evan looked at her, wide-eyed. "A spark? What do you mean?" "You will see in time. For now, know this. Being chosen by me carries responsibility. You must be careful, brave, and wise. Others may test you, challenge you, even try to deceive you. But your choices can shape more than your own life. Perhaps even the future of my empire." Evan felt a strange weight settle on his shoulders. He had faced puzzles and creatures, but now he realized the real challenges were only beginning. A quiet moment as Evan left the chamber, he glanced at the palace gardens. The twin suns were setting, casting long, violet shadows across the glowing flora. For a moment, he allowed himself a smile. This was not his world, and yet it was full of wonder. The humans had arrived as visitors, but he, just a child, had already begun to make a mark. The Queen's gaze lingered in his mind, a reminder that his actions mattered, that his choices could change things in ways he had not yet imagined. And somewhere deep in the palace, whispers of the youngest human's trials spread. Some were skeptical, others curious, but all agreed on one thing. This child was no ordinary human. Evan took a deep breath, feeling both excitement and trepidation. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, but tonight, he allowed himself to dream of possibilities. He had passed the first trials, and in the heart of Veloria, destiny had begun to watch him more closely than ever. The following days in Veloria were filled with lessons, observations, and quiet tension. Evan moved like a small, curious thread weaving through the alien court, his presence unsettling some nobles and intriguing others. Though he had passed the initial trials, whispers persisted. Some feared what a human child could mean for the delicate balance of power in the Empire. Evan, however, remained unaware of most of the politics. His focus was on learning, exploring, and understanding. He had already discovered that even small human actions could influence outcomes in ways aliens never expected. One afternoon, while wandering through a less frequented wing of the palace, Evan noticed something unusual. A corridor, normally sealed, had a faint glow and a subtle vibration in the walls. His curiosity, stronger than fear, pushed him forward. At the end of the hallway, he discovered a small hidden chamber. Inside were panels of glowing symbols, maps, and strange devices. Evan immediately recognized that it was not for decoration. It was some kind of strategic command room. He crouched to study one of the holographic maps. The symbols were shifting rapidly, showing movements of alien fleets beyond the capital. Then a pattern emerged, one that caused his stomach to tighten. There were movements from ships not belonging to Veloria, small fleets approaching the planet from several directions. Evan's mind raced. He had only read about alien warfare in reports, but the logic was clear. "They're planning an attack," he whispered to himself. "Someone wants to exploit the humans' presence." Or the political tension. Racing to warn the Queen, Evan ran through the corridors, his small legs carrying him swiftly past surprised servants and guards. He burst into the audience hall where the Queen was meeting with her council. "Your Majesty," he shouted. The court gasped. It was unheard of for a child to interrupt a council session. "There's a fleet, ships approaching Zaltara. They mean to attack." The council froze. Commander Riva stepped forward, alarmed. "Evan, slow down. Explain carefully." Evan ignored him, pointing toward the holomap. "Look, I found this hidden room. I saw their movements. They're coming from the outer rim, coordinated. If we don't act, they'll—" Velana held up a hand and silence fell. Her violet eyes locked on Evan's. "Child, are you certain of this? I saw it myself. I traced the routes on the map. I think they know we're here. They'll strike when we least expect it." Evan's voice trembled slightly, but his gaze was unwavering. A murmur spread through the court. Some whispered that the child was exaggerating. Others questioned if a human could even understand alien strategies. Velana's expression hardened. If this is true, we cannot ignore it. I will verify. She gestured to the map. With a wave of her hand, sensors activated across the palace and the fleet's movements were confirmed. Evan had been right. The court fell silent in shock. The humans had predicted nothing of this threat, yet the youngest human had discovered it before anyone else. A bold declaration, Velana's gaze turned to the court. This human child has insight that many of you lack. I claimed him for a reason. He sees what we do not. From this moment he will be under my protection. Any who attempt to harm him or doubt him will answer to me. Even Lord Varric, the senior noble who had doubted Evan's presence, bowed his head slightly. Realizing the gravity of the situation, Commander Riva stepped forward. Your Majesty, how do we respond? The fleet is large. We are outnumbered, Velana's eyes glimmered. Numbers mean little if we are clever. Humans. You have a way of thinking differently. Share your ideas. Perhaps they will save us. Evan felt a surge of pride. His human perspective, his small size, and his quick thinking, things that often made him underestimated, were now valuable. The plan even studied the holomap, analyzing the fleet's movements and possible weaknesses. They are spread out to avoid detection. Their main attack will be in the northwest corridor near the jungle cliffs, and he said, if we can lure their scouts into the city and use the terrain, we can trap them without losing many ships. The council exchanged doubtful looks. One elder alien whispered, a human child thinks he can strategize better than trained officers? Velana ignored the comment. Let him speak. I want solutions, not fear. Evan continued. We can use decoys, small ships that look vulnerable. The enemy will focus on them and we can ambush the main fleet. Also, the jungle energy lines. They can interfere with ship sensors if we guide them through properly. Solaris, the young scholar who had befriended Evan, nodded slowly. This might work. Only a mind unfamiliar with our usual tactics could devise this. It is brilliant. Velana's violet eyes softened slightly as she regarded Evan. Child, your thinking is unusual, but it is correct. We will follow this plan. Prepare the fleet. Unexpected attackers. That night, scouts reported movements at the edges of the capital. Small, shadowy ships were entering the outer atmosphere undetected. Evan, alongside a human engineer named Mara, guided the fleet into position. They had set up decoys, traps, and interference zones, as Evan suggested. The shadow fleet advanced, and as expected, they were drawn to the decoys. When they entered the jungle corridor, the energy lines activated, creating false readings and confusion. The aliens struggled at first, unsure of what was happening, but Evan calmly directed them. Wait for the signal, he shouted. Now! Strike here! Alien ships launched coordinated strikes, taking advantage of the enemy's confusion. The smaller, less disciplined attackers were quickly disabled, while the main fleet retreated in disarray. For the first time, many nobles witnessed human ingenuity in action. Evan's size, age, and status did not limit him. His ability to think creatively under pressure had turned the tide. Respect and awe. The morning after the failed attack, the court was abuzz. Aliens who had doubted humans now whispered in admiration. The child, he saved the city, one noble said quietly. Velana addressed the council. Let this be a lesson. Humans are not to be underestimated. This youngest human, has proven himself. His insight is a weapon, and his courage is unmatched by many full-grown adults. Evan, slightly embarrassed, looked down. He had not done it for praise. He had done it because it was the right thing to do. Yet the recognition felt strange and powerful. Commander Rivas approached him. You've done well, Evan. You saved many lives today. Never doubt what humans are capable of, child. Evan smiled faintly. I didn't do it alone. The aliens helped too. We worked together. Solaris stepped closer, offering a rare smile. You are more than a curiosity, human. You are a bridge. Perhaps you will teach us much more than we can imagine. A growing bond in the days that followed, Evan found himself no longer just a guest in the alien court. He was a participant, a valued mind whose perspective mattered. Some nobles still distrusted him, but even they could not ignore his contributions. Queen Velana continued to observe him closely. She began to share subtle lessons in diplomacy, teaching him how to read intentions, recognize deceit, and anticipate moves in both political and military arenas. Evan absorbed everything like a sponge, amazed by the depth and complexity of the alien empire. Yet he also retained his human perspective, often suggesting simple but effective solutions that others overlooked. His small size, youth, and courage became advantages rather than liabilities. A glimpse of danger. Even as peace returned temporarily, the shadow threat had not vanished. The rival empire, humiliated by the failed assault, was already plotting its next move. Scouts hinted at larger fleets preparing beyond the nebula, waiting for the right moment to strike again. Velana turned to Evan. "Child, you have proven yourself in strategy and courage. But understand this, our enemies are patient. The next attack may be worse. You will need to stay vigilant." Evan nodded. "I understand. I'll be ready, humans. We don't give up easily." The Queen's lips curved faintly. "Indeed, that is what I have seen in you. The spark of humanity. Unpredictable, relentless, and resourceful. Perhaps the galaxy has underestimated your kind for too long." As Evan looked out over the glowing city that night, he felt a mixture of pride and responsibility. He was small, human, and young, but he had already saved lives, influenced decisions, and earned respect in a world far from home. Somewhere beyond the stars, shadows moved, fleets waited, and the threat lingered. But Evan also knew one thing: human courage, creativity, and determination were forces that no enemy could easily dismiss. And in the heart of the alien empire, destiny watched him closely, knowing that the youngest human had only begun to reveal what he was truly capable of. The air in Veloria had grown heavy. Even though the recent battle had ended in victory, Queen Velana and her council knew the danger was not gone. The rival empire's first attack had failed, but that only meant they would come back stronger. In the days that followed, the alien capital was a mix of rebuilding and preparation. New defenses were being installed, guards were on constant alert, and the humans were now treated with far more respect than before. At the center of all this, Evan worked tirelessly. The youngest human had become something of a legend in the court. Aliens whispered stories about how he saw patterns others could not, how he could predict moves that even seasoned commanders missed. But for Evan, there was no time to enjoy fame. He was too busy thinking about what would come next. He knew the rival empire would not accept defeat easily. Restless curiosity. Late one evening, Evan sat in the Queen's observation chamber. From the window, the glowing city stretched out like a sea of living light. Beside him, holographic screens displayed defense maps and fleet routes. Velana entered silently, her presence filling the room like soft music. "You have been awake for many hours, child," she said gently. Evan looked up, smiling faintly. "I can't stop thinking, Your Majesty. They'll come again. I just don't know when or how." The Queen nodded slowly. "Your mind is restless, as all human minds are. That is your gift. But you must not let worry consume you. Strategy is not only about fighting, it is also about patience." Evan nodded, but his eyes didn't leave the glowing maps. "I think they're studying us, learning from what happened before. If they can't defeat your fleets in open battle, they'll try something else. Something clever." Velana's expression darkened. "You believe they will use deception?" "Yes," Evan said. "Maybe spies. Maybe sabotage. But I don't think they'll just rush in again. They'll want to break your defenses from the inside." The Queen looked thoughtful. "If that is true, we must act before they do. What would a human suggest?" Evan thought for a long moment. "Humans use something we call counterintelligence. We don't just defend, we pretend to be weaker than we are. We make them think they've already won." Velana's eyes glimmered. Deception to counter-deception. Intriguing. Signs of trouble. 2 days later, Evan's fears began to come true. Small systems across the palace started malfunctioning. Energy flows became unstable. Communications cut out randomly, and one of the Queen's smaller defense satellites stopped responding altogether. The alien engineers were baffled. "It cannot be a coincidence," said Solaris, Evan's alien friend and scholar. "Something or someone is interfering with our systems." Evan frowned. "It's sabotage. Someone inside must be helping the enemy." Solaris looked alarmed. "That would mean there's a spy among the Queen's staff." Evan nodded grimly. We need to find them before it's too late. He spent hours studying the data logs, tracing small changes in system patterns. Finally, he noticed something strange. All the errors began near one specific energy conduit beneath the palace. That night, Evan slipped away with Solaris and 2 trusted guards. They descended into the lower chambers, ancient tunnels that powered the entire capital. The air was damp and warm, filled with the hum of alien machinery. Evan used a portable scanner to follow the interference signal. Eventually, it led to a sealed maintenance room. Inside, they found it, an alien device pulsing faintly with red light buried deep in the wall. "It's a beacon," Evan said quietly. "They're using it to track your defenses. That's how they knew where to attack before." Solaris's eyes widened. "Then they know we're rebuilding," Evan nodded. "Yes, and they'll strike again soon." A dangerous plan the next morning, Evan presented his findings to Queen Velana and the human delegation. The council was shocked by the discovery. "We have to destroy the beacon," one noble said, "before it sends more information." Evan shook his head. "No, if we destroy it, they'll know we found it. Instead, we feed it false data." Velana raised an eyebrow. "You would deceive the deceivers." Evan smiled slightly. "Exactly. Humans are very good at that." He explained his plan. They would send fake signals through the beacon, making the enemy believe the defenses were weaker in one area. When the enemy attacked there, they would walk straight into an ambush. The Queen listened carefully, then nodded. "Your strategy is bold and risky. If they discover the ruse, we will be exposed." Evan met her gaze. "They won't. They think humans are unpredictable and reckless. Let's prove them right." Preparing the trap for the next several days, the entire capital moved under Evan's direction. Human technicians worked alongside alien engineers, creating false energy readings, fake patrol routes, and decoy power stations. Solaris handled the alien coordination, while Commander Rivas ensured human support. Together, they built a convincing illusion, a vulnerable corridor that didn't actually exist. Evan barely slept. His mind raced with ideas, calculations, and adjustments. Every mistake could mean disaster. Finally, the preparations were done. Velana summoned Evan to the throne hall. "You have led well, child," she said. "Our forces are ready. But remember, this plan depends on timing. The moment they strike, you must give the signal." Evan nodded firmly. "I won't fail, Your Majesty." The attack begins. It happened just before dawn. The sky above Valoria darkened as hundreds of enemy ships emerged from the clouds. Their engines glowed red, their weapons armed. The rival empire had come again. Panic rippled through the city, but Velana stood calm at the command center. Beside her, Evan monitored the false data feed. The enemy ships were following it perfectly. "They're taking the bait," Evan whispered. The alien commander smiled grimly. "Then let them come." As the first wave entered the false corridor, hidden turrets and energy shields activated. Explosions lit the sky. The enemy fleet realized too late that it had been tricked. From behind the clouds, Velana's main fleet appeared, silent and ready. They struck with precision, cutting through the disoriented enemy lines. Evan's plan worked flawlessly. The attackers were caught between illusions and real firepower, unable to distinguish truth from deception. Human ingenuity in action. In the control room, Velana watched in awe as Evan directed the battle. His voice was calm and clear. "Shift formation Delta 7. Trap the second wave behind the shield line. They'll try to retreat through the lower atmosphere. Cut them off there." Alien commanders followed his commands without hesitation. One of them turned to the Queen. "He commands like one of us." Velana's lips curved slightly. "No, he commands like a human, and that is what makes him effective." Within hours, the rival empire's fleet was broken. Their ships scattered and fled, leaving behind wreckage and silence. When the last signal faded, the hall erupted in cheers. Humans and aliens alike celebrated the victory, but Evan simply leaned back, exhausted yet smiling. "We did it," he said softly. Respect earned, later that day, Queen Velana called a public assembly. The court gathered in the Grand Plaza, where the twin suns reflected off the crystalline towers. She stood tall, her voice echoing through the city. "Today we stand united, human and Valorian, as defenders of our home. The one who made this possible is not a soldier, nor a noble, nor a general. He is a child, a human child." Evan felt every eye on him. He tried not to blush, but his face grew warm anyway. Velana continued. He saw patterns we did not. He taught us that wisdom is not bound by age or species. From this day forward, he will be known as the Bridge of Worlds, the symbol of our alliance. The crowd erupted in applause. Alien voices hummed in harmony, and even the human delegation stood proud. Commander Rivas placed a hand on Evan's shoulder. You did good, kid. The galaxy will remember this day. Evan smiled. We all did it together. That's what matters, quiet reflection. That night, the city glowed brighter than ever. Celebrations echoed through the streets, music filled the air, and colorful lights painted the sky. Evan stood on the palace balcony watching the celebration below. For the first time in weeks, he allowed himself to relax. Queen Velana joined him, her expression softer than usual. You have changed much in so little time, she said. You came here as a visitor. Now you stand as an equal among my people. Evan smiled. I just did what I thought was right. The queen nodded. That is the essence of humanity, is it not? Doing what feels right, even when others cannot see the path. They stood in silence for a while, watching the glowing forests beyond the city. Then Velana spoke quietly. The enemy will not forget this defeat, but neither will the galaxy forget the humans who turned the tide. You, child, have shown them what your kind truly is, resilient, clever, and unbreakable. Evan looked up at the stars. Then let them watch, he said softly, because humans don't run from the dark. We light it up, the queen smiled faintly, spoken like a true DEATHWORLDer. The victory over the rival empire was still fresh, but peace on Veloria was fragile. Though the enemy fleets had been defeated, Queen Velana and her council knew that their opponents would not surrender easily. Evan, the youngest human, had become a symbol of unity and brilliance across the stars. Aliens whispered his name with respect. Humans treated him as a rising hero. But for Evan himself, the celebration felt incomplete. He knew this war was not over. Dark signals weeks passed after the great battle. The skies were quiet, trade routes reopened, and rebuilding had begun. Still, deep in the Royal Command Center, strange new signals started appearing. One morning, Solaris ran into the Queen's chamber, his face pale and eyes wide. Your Majesty, he gasped. There is a transmission coming from the far rim systems. It is coded, but it bears the enemy's mark. Queen Velana turned sharply. Put it on screen. The room darkened. A hologram appeared, flickering static, then a shadowed alien figure in armor. It was High Marshal Korath, the rival empire's most feared commander. His voice was cold and calm. Queen Velana of Veloria, you have won your little battle, but you have taken something that belongs to us. Evan frowned. What's he talking about? Korath continued. You hide behind your new pet human. We know what he is. We know what power his kind carries, and we will come for him. The boy is the key. The transmission ended with static. For a long moment, no one spoke. Then Solaris whispered, They are not after our world. They are after him. Evan's stomach turned cold. Me? Why me? Queen Velana's eyes narrowed. Because they fear you. You have become the symbol of human unpredictability, the thing they cannot control. That makes you dangerous. The council divides that evening. The Royal Council gathered in secret. The discussion was tense and divided. One alien general said, We cannot risk another war because of one human child. Send him back to his people. Another countered, The humans saved us. We owe them our loyalty. To abandon him would destroy the alliance. Evan sat silently as the arguments grew louder. He didn't want to be the reason for conflict between his allies. Finally, Queen Velana raised her hand. The room fell silent. Enough, she said softly. This child is under my protection. He is not a weapon. He is ours. Her words echoed through the hall. Evan looked at her, surprised. Your Majesty. She met his gaze. You came here with courage when even your elders hesitated. You showed us a path to survival. I will not let them harm you. The council obeyed her, but unease remained. Even as the Queen spoke of peace, her advisors quietly strengthened the defenses once more. Human plans, alien loyalty. In the following days, Evan tried to focus on improving the Alliance fleet. He met with human engineers, taught alien tacticians human strategy, and trained new defense crews. But one evening, as he reviewed reports in the palace archives, he found something strange. Buried in the data was a set of coordinates, transmissions sent by the rival empire weeks before the last attack. He traced them. His heart skipped a beat. The signals weren't just tracking fleet movement, they were tracking him. Every step, every communication, every decision he made had been logged by the enemy. They weren't after Valoria's power. They wanted human intelligence. He realized the enemy might already have a spy. Inside the palace again. The spy within Evan took his discovery to the Queen and Solaris. Immediately, "Someone is sending them my data," he said, pointing to the holographic display. "The enemy knows everything I've done. They're not watching from far, they're inside." The Queen's eyes flashed with anger. "Then we will root them out." They began a silent investigation, searching for any suspicious behavior. For days, nothing turned up until one night, a technician was caught trying to access the defense grid's command codes. When the guards restrained him, he dropped a small device glowing with faint red light, the same technology found in the beacon weeks ago. Under questioning, the spy revealed the truth. The enemy fleet was coming again, but not for conquest. They planned to capture Evan alive. "They call him the Key of Chaos," the spy hissed before being taken away. "Your queen cannot protect him forever." A terrible choice as dawn rose over Valoria. Queen Velana met with Evan privately in her garden. The light reflected off the silver leaves around them. "You know what this means," she said quietly. "They will come again. And this time, they will burn everything in their path to reach you." Evan clenched his fists. "Then I'll go. If I leave, maybe they'll stop." The Queen turned sharply. "No, you are under my oath. I swore to protect you." Evan met her eyes. "If I stay, they'll destroy your world." "I can't let that happen." Velana stepped closer. "You do not understand, child. You are more than a guest. You are the bond that holds two worlds together. If you fall, everything we built will collapse." Her voice softened. "You are mine, not as a possession, but as a promise. You belong to this alliance, to this hope." Evan lowered his gaze. "Then let me protect that hope, even if it means leaving." The Queen's expression darkened, but she saw the determination in his eyes. She finally nodded. "Then if you must go, you will not go alone." The final battle 3 days later, the enemy fleet appeared again, larger than before. The sky over Valoria darkened with warships, but this time they didn't attack the city. They opened a single transmission. High Marshal Korath's voice boomed across the channel. "Send us the human. Do this, and no more blood will be spilled." Evan stood beside Velana in the command center. The Queen's advisors pleaded with her to refuse, but Evan stepped forward. "I'll go," he said firmly. "If this ends it, I'll go." The Queen looked furious. "You are not their prisoner." Evan smiled sadly. "Maybe not, but sometimes peace needs a risk." Before she could stop him, he stepped onto the teleport platform. Solaris activated the coordinates. In a flash of blue light, Evan vanished. Face of the enemy, he reappeared aboard the enemy flagship, cold metal floors, red light flickering. Soldiers surrounded him, their weapons ready. At the center of the room stood Korath, tall and armored, his eyes burning with hatred. "So this is the human who defied an empire," Korath said slowly. "You are smaller than I expected." Evan stood tall. "And you're slower than I expected," the alien commander snarled. "Your kind is dangerous. You think too freely. You twist logic into madness. That is why the galaxy will never belong to you." Evan smiled faintly. "Maybe, but you'll never understand something important." Korath tilted his head. "And what is that?" "Humans fight hardest when they fight for others." At that moment, alarms blared across the ship. Outside, Velana's fleet appeared from hyperspace. The Queen had followed him. "Protect the human." Her voice thundered through the comms. The Bridge of Worlds, the battle that followed, was chaos. Alien and human ships moved in perfect unity, dodging, striking, covering each other's flanks. Evan used the ship's control interface, overriding enemy codes he had learned from earlier data. He sent false commands through their systems, turning some of their ships against each other. Korath roared in rage. "You dare corrupt my fleet?" Evan's eyes flashed. "No, I'm freeing them." As explosions shook the ship, Queen Velana herself arrived aboard a boarding craft. She cut through enemy soldiers with her elite guards and reached Evan's position. When she saw him standing unhurt, her expression softened, but only for a moment. "You are reckless, human child," Evan grinned. You taught me well, Your Majesty. Together they fought their way to the command core. Evan uploaded a virus he had designed, a human-made code that shut down every enemy weapon system in the fleet. One by one, the red lights outside flickered and died. Silence filled the space around Valoria. Peace at last. When it was over, Korath's flagship was surrounded by Valorian and human ships. The enemy forces surrendered. Velana stood on the bridge beside Evan, her voice calm but firm. Your war is over, High Marshal. You underestimated humanity. Korath glared at Evan one last time. You have no empire, no armies. How can you rule the stars? Evan looked him in the eye. We don't want to rule them. We just want everyone to have a chance to live. With that, the rival empire fell silent, and the galaxy began to heal. Legacy of the youngest human months later, peace returned. Trade, science, and diplomacy flourished across many worlds. The Valorian-Human alliance became a model for cooperation among alien species. At the center of it all stood the story of one human boy who changed everything. In the capital plaza of Valoria, a monument was built, a tall crystal statue showing Queen Velana and a young human standing side by side. At the base, the inscription read, "Here stands the Bridge of Worlds, where humanity and Valoria chose unity over fear." Evan watched the ceremony quietly. Now older, more confident, Solaris approached him and smiled. You know, they'll tell your story for generations. Evan chuckled softly. Then let them remember it right. Not as one human saving aliens, but as friends saving each other. Behind them, Queen Velana joined, her voice calm and proud. And remember this, child. You may be human, but you will always have a home among the stars. Evan looked up at the twin suns and smiled. Then maybe humans were meant to shine here too. And as light spread across the horizon, the human who had once been underestimated stood as living proof of what humanity could do. Not through domination, but through courage, cleverness, and heart.